My name is Josh. Today I want to teach you a practice focusing on the hip flexors. The hip flexors are a muscle group that we tend to spend too much time stretching and not enough time strengthening. And so this practice today is going to be designed to not only bring awareness to the hip flexors, but different techniques and movement patterns that will help you strengthen those muscles, which I hope consequently leads to greater mobility and hip health. I hope that you enjoy this practice, and I look forward to seeing you again soon on your mat. So begin by lying down on your back. Set your feet flat to the floor with your knees bent and have the arms by your side. What we're going to do in practice today is spend some time getting to understand the way in which the hips move a little bit better. We'll look at the relationship between internal and external rotation, flexion and extension, perhaps a little bit of abduction and adduction of the hip, but more so than anything else, just bringing your awareness to the hips themselves. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll see if we can isolate hip flexion a little bit more independently than some of those other movement patterns. Strengthening the hip flexors, bringing awareness to the hip flexors, I think is a very undervalued approach to practice. Take a couple breaths to the nose or the mouth. Breathe in a way that feels supportive for you. As I mentioned, quite often it does not have to be the deepest breath you've ever taken. And we'll start by doing a little bit of extension and flexion of the lower back to establish a much more fluid lumbo-pelvic rhythm. So as you inhale, see if you can begin to increase the arch of the lower back just slightly, a similar move to cow pose. And then as you exhale, flatten your lower back and feel like your tailbone is moving towards the ceiling, like cat pose in a way in the lower back. And then as you breathe in, extend or arch the lower back to extension. And as you exhale, flatten the lower back, feel like the tailbone is moving towards the ceiling. Do this a few more times on your own, using the breath in to extend or arch and the breath out to flatten. Breathing in and breathing out. All right, then let the spine return back to more of a neutral position. Take a full breath in, and then as you exhale, right side, draw it in towards the chest without using the hands, so you're moving from the hip flexor themselves. Thigh towards the chest, or maybe more towards your right armpit. It really depends on the shape and structure of your hips. And then as you inhale, lower your right foot down and slide the leg out long, taking your right hip into extension. And then as you exhale, pull your right foot back in flat. Do the same thing on the other side. So start by breathing in. As you exhale, left thigh pulls in towards the chest without using the hands, moving from the hip joint. As you inhale, lower your left foot and slide your leg out long. And as you exhale, pull the left foot back in. We'll repeat. So breathe in first. Exhale, right thigh in. Inhale, right leg out into extension at the hip joint. As you exhale, pull your right foot in. Breathe in. Exhale, left thigh in. Inhale, left leg out long. And as you exhale, foot pulls in. Let's do one more. Breathe in first. Exhale, right thigh in. Inhale, right leg out. Exhale, foot in. Stay in, breathe in. Exhale, left thigh in. Inhale, left leg out. And then as you exhale, pull the foot back in. Great. Then from there, take both of your knees into your chest for a moment. Then find your way up into a seated position. And then we'll switch into a tabletop pose. So we'll come onto the hands and the knees. And what we'll do from here is try to recreate that same kind of movement pattern, moving from extension to flexion of the hips. So when we do this next move, the key here is to try to keep the spine as neutral as possible. Inevitably, there is going to be some extension and a little bit of flexion of the lower back, but one thing that might help, try to keep the head very still. As you inhale, extend your right leg back and up, extending the right hip. And then as you exhale, flex your right hip. So your right thigh comes in towards the chest, but keep the spine as neutral as possible. So we're isolating the right hip flexors. As you inhale, right leg back and up. And then again, exhale, right thigh in. Inhale, right leg back. Exhale, right thigh in. And then as you inhale, take your right leg back, pause there, bend your right knee, and then a few circles at your hip. So moving from the hip, guiding the knee in giant circles in both directions. Okay, and lower your right knee down, extend your left leg back and up. Exhale, left thigh in towards the chest. Inhale, left leg back. And as you can see, the head stays still. Exhale, left thigh into the chest. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale, left thigh in. And then left leg back. Pause there. Bend your left knee and draw some circles. Again, any size circles, circumventing the left hip joint. Good. Okay, and then lower your left knee down. Now from there, take your hips back towards your heels like you're doing child's pose, but with your knees closer together. So you're taking both of your hips into a flexed position. Then on your next breath in, shift forward to tabletop pose. Keep taking the hips forward, raise the shins, contract the glutes, and extend both of your hips. Try to stay out of the lower back, and then as you exhale, back into flexion. Hips to heels, forehead down. Again, inhale, shift forward, raise the shins, let the hips move forward and down slightly, contract the glutes, stay out of the lower back. It's different than upward dog. And then exhale your hips to your heels. Again. And then one more time, inhale, shift forward. And exhale back. And up to tabletop pose. And then this time, from tabletop pose, tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, and come into downward facing dog. A few breaths in downward dog. Inhale one more time. And breathe out. End your breath, look forward and step to the front of your mat. Inhale, lift halfway up, lengthen your spine. Fold forward as you breathe out. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. And then as you exhale, lower your arms down by your side. Okay, so 3 feet together. Inhale to mountain pose, raise your heels up, come onto the ball mounds of your feet. And exhale, fold forward. Lower your heels, hinge from your hips, and fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And then step back to plank pose and lower all the way down to your belly. Then bring the tops of your feet to the floor. Inhale your chest up and your right leg up and pause there. The top of the left foot down, both hips down. Both hips are extended, the right one obviously a little more than the left, then lower down. Inhale, chest up, left leg up. Pause there. So top of right foot down, left leg is up. and lower down. Inhale to plank or tabletop pose. And then down dog on the breath out. We'll use that sequence to warm up the body a bit, to get moving just a little bit. 3 breaths. Two breaths. Another breath in. Exhale completely. At the end of your breath, look forward, step to the front of your mat. Inhale, lift halfway up. Fold forward as you exhale. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. And then exhale your arms down by your side. All right, so same thing. Inhale to mountain pose. Raise your heels up onto the palm ends of your feet. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from your hips. Inhale, halfway lift, chest, chin forward. And as you exhale, step back and lower down. Inhale, chest up, right foot up. Exhale, lower. Chest up, left foot up. And lower. Plank or tabletop, push up. And down dog on the breath out. 3 breaths. One more breath in. Exhale. Look forward, step to the front of your mat. One more time. Lift halfway up. Fold forward. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. And exhale your arms by your side. Inhale, reach up, raise your heels. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from your hips. Inhale, halfway lift. And then step back and lower all the way down to your belly. Inhale, chest up, right leg up. The back is lifting, lower down, not the hands. Chest up, left leg up. And lower down. Plank or tabletop, push up. And down dog as you breathe out. Okay, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. Then step all the way through to a lunge and lower your left knee down to the ground. From there, come up onto your fingertips. And from this position, already your right hip is in a fully flexed position. What I want you to try and do is maintain that flexion of the hips. Or another way of saying that is keep your belly glued to your right thigh. So take a full breath in. As you exhale, rock your hips back onto your right heel. Keep your belly glued to your thigh, your fingertips exactly where they are. And then again, bend your right knee. Inhale, still in hip flexion. Exhale, hips back, still in hip flexion. Bend your right knee. Inhale. Hips back on the breath out. Bend and breathe in. And then hips back and breathe out. Then bend your right knee. This time, slide your hands to your hips and come up. Keep the left knee down, left toes tucked. Feel like the left foot's pushing the pelvis forward slightly. The right foot ever so gently tugging backwards to stabilize the hips. Then lift your arms up overhead. From here, bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Try to pull the elbows underneath the palms, so your forearms are parallel to either side of the room and each other. So elbows pulling under the hands to externally rotate the upper arms and the shoulder joint. But more importantly, paying attention to the hips. Right hip mildly flexed, left hip extended. Inhale your arms up, and then down dog as you breathe out. Hands down, step back. We'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Lift your left leg up. And then as you exhale, step through. Lower your right knee down, up onto the fingertips. Stay flexed in the left hip and breathe in. Exhale, hips back onto your left heel. Bend and breathe in. Hips back and breathe out. Bend and breathe in. Hips back and breathe out. Bend and breathe in one more time. hips back on the breath out. And then bend your left knee, slide your hands to your hips to come up. Right toes tucked, right foot pushing pelvis forward, left foot pulling back again. That little move to stabilize the hips is key. Left hip mildly flexed, right hip is extended. Lift your arms up overhead. And then bend your elbows to 90 degrees, pulling the hand under the shoulders. The hands above the elbows, elbows under the hands. All of that is coming from rotating the upper arms in the shoulder joint. Good, one more breath. Reach up and breathe in. And downward facing dog. Full breath in. And take a full breath out. Okay, look forward and step to the front of your mat. Lift halfway up. And then fold forward on the breath out. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. As you exhale, arms down by your side. So take your hands onto your hips. Pick your right knee up as high as you can and then even a little bit more. So your right hip is in full flexion. Try to keep the left leg completely straight. You want to engage the right hip flexors, even to the point where it feels like that muscle is cramping a little bit. Then lower your right foot down and left knee up. It's not like an unconscious cramping, like if you're dehydrated or lacking like minerals. It's like the muscle's not used to being this short. It's used to being tight, but not used to being short. And then lower your left foot down. Now to flex both hips, we'll do a variation of chair pose. So bend the knees, flex both hips, sit as low as you can. Lean your upper body forward. So low as you can. Take a full breath in. And then fold forward on the breath out. Inhale, halfway lift. And then this time, plant your palms, step back, lower halfway down. Inhale to upward facing dog. Engage the legs. Try to open the front of the hips. And then down dog as you breathe out. Inhale your right leg up. Bring your shoulders forward, your right side towards the ribs, keeping the spine long, kind of like what we did in tabletop. Inhale your right leg back and up. And then exhale, step through to a lunge. Left palm stays down. Inhale your right arm up. Turn your chest. If it's too much on the shoulders, you can always keep your right hand onto your hip. One of my favorite little moves for this position. Feel like your left foot is super glued to where it is. Raise the hips a little bit. Feel as if your right foot is pulling the pelvis forward. One more breath in. And then lower your right hand down. Now inhale to crescent lunge. Lift your arms up overhead. And we'll do this cycle of postures, the sequence of postures again after this. For this first one, add a little bit of width to your stance. So right foot a little bit to the right. Now bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Bend your left knee a few inches off the floor. Try to sit into your left foot and then raise your right heel up. So your right heel up, sitting into the left foot. Take another breath in. Another breath out. Lower your right heel, straighten both legs, reach up. And now fold to your right thigh. It's like a modified pyramid pose. Stance stays long. And as before, belly glued to your right thigh, so your right hip is in full flexion. 2 breaths. One more breath. Okay, then bend your right knee. Step to high plank pose. Lower halfway down. Inhale to upward facing dog. And downward dog. Inhale your left leg up. There. Shoulders forward, left thigh towards the body. Flexing your left hip fully, like how we did in tabletop at the beginning. Inhale your left leg back. Exhale, step through. Keep your right palm down. Inhale your left arm up. So again, feel like your back foot is super glued. Raise the hips a little bit. Feel like your left foot is pulling the pelvis forward without letting your back foot move. to take the front of your right hip into a little bit stronger extension. One more breath in. And then lower your left hand down. Inhale to crescent lunge, arms up. And just for this first one, add a little bit of width to your stance. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees, elbows under the hands. Bend your back knee a few inches off the floor and raise your left heel up. So you're sitting into your right foot with your ears over the shoulders, over the hips, and the lower back long. Stay and breathe in. Stay and breathe out. Lower your left heel, straighten both legs. Inhale to reach up. And then exhale, fold to your left side. Back leg is still engaged. Left hip is full flexion. Take a few more breaths. Inhale one more time. And then as you exhale, bend your left knee to plank pose and lower halfway down. Upward dog. And downward facing dog. And breathe in. And breathe out. So let's do it a couple times. One more time. Breathe in deeply. Exhale out. Look forward and step to the front of your mat, feet together. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up overhead. Then exhale your arms by your side. As you inhale, pick your right knee up as high as you can. Exhale your right foot down. Inhale your left knee up as high as you can. Left foot down. Inhale to chair pose, bend both knees, sit way back, flex your hips as much as you can. Then fold forward on the breath out. Inhale, halfway lift. And plant your palms, step back to plank pose and lower down. Upward dog. And downward facing. Inhale your right leg up. Shoulders forward, knee to chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lunge. Inhale your right arm up. Exhale, right hand down. Inhale, crescent lunge, arms up. As you exhale, bend your elbows, back knee, raise your front heel. Inhale, reach up, everything up. Fold to your right thigh as you breathe out. Stay here, inhale. Exhale, bend your right knee. High plank pose, inhale. Lower halfway down. Upward dog. And down dog on the breath out. Inhale, left leg up. Shoulders forward, knee to chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lunge. Inhale your left arm up. Exhale, left hand down. Inhale, crescent lunge, arms up. Exhale, bend your elbows, back knee, raise your left heel. Inhale, everything up. Exhale, fold to your left thigh. Stay and breathe in. Exhale, bend your left knee to high plank pose. Inhale. Lower halfway. And then breath out, upward dog, inhale. And downward facing dog. Couple breaths. Okay, and then step to the front of your mat and bring your feet together. Lift halfway up on the breath in. Fold forward as you breathe out. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. Then exhale your arms by your side. All right, so from here, take your feet as wide as the mat. So we're going to do a malasana and a couple different variations of it. So with your toes out, heels in, squat down, bring the palms together, and then rest your elbows on top of the knees instead of inside of. Okay, then raise your hips up to about the height of the knees, so not much, just a couple inches. Turn your feet parallel to each other, bring the upper body slightly forward, and then turn your toes out and squat back down. It's called this action, pumping into the hips. So then lift your hips up a little bit, turn the feet parallel, staying flexed in the hips. Toes out, drop the hips, back into Malasana. Just like pumping blood into the hips. Hips up, turn the feet parallel, lean forward. Toes out, hips down. Okay, now reach your arms up overhead. Lift the hips a little, lean forward, feet parallel. You could always do this as well, sitting on a block. Turn your toes out, squat down, arms stay up. Again, hips up, feet parallel, lean forward. Toes out, hips down, arms up. One more, hips up a little, feet parallel, leaning forward. And then toes out, hips down, reaching up. Stay here and breathe in. And then fold forward, hands down, feet parallel. Hinge from your hips. Right, lift halfway up. And then step back to downward facing dog. All right, lower your knees down. Take your hips forward. Raise your shins up. Contract the glutes. And then to child's pose. Hips back. So now what I want you to do is take 2 blocks and place one to either side of the mat. We're going to use them in a moment here. What we're going to try and learn how to do is use the hip flexors in postures where it seems a little bit trickier to, or postures where it's a little bit trickier to engage the hips. Why? Because the hip flexor that we're going to be engaging is also going to be a part of the body that's bearing some body weight. Up until this point, all of the hip flexion we've been doing is from a leg that's kind of free to move. So it makes it a little bit trickier. So we'll try. We'll see what happens. So blocks to either side of the hands. Come into downward facing dog. Now lift your right leg up towards the ceiling again and step all the way through to a lunge. I'm going to take the blocks on either side of your front foot on the highest height. And then come into warrior one with your hands on your hips. So left foot is turned out at a pretty good angle to the left. Shoulders relatively square. Hips are probably going to be a bit off-centered to the left. And then, since it's the first time we're here, straighten and bend your right knee a few times. All right, then the next time that you bend your right knee, hold there, reach the arms up overhead. So in Virabhadrasana. Great, and now straighten your front leg and come into pyramid pose with the hands onto the blocks. And you might have to take the blocks back a bit so they're under the shoulders. So here's the technique. So I want you to push into the blocks, lift the chest a little bit, and then feel like you're attempting to pull the foot away from the floor from the right upper thigh. What we're trying to get is the deep hip flexors to contract and almost feel like this grabbing of the hip joint. So for me, the action is either trying to make my right foot weightless by pushing into the block, trying to pull the foot away from the floor, or you might just feel it as a contraction of the hip joint. That's straightforward. And it's also possible that you have no control over the hip at this point because this move does take practice. That's okay as well. Just invite in the possibility of the hip flexors to engage on the right side. Now, if you can maintain that feeling of your right hip flexors engaged, lower down and bring your fingertips to either side of the blocks. Because what the hip flexors do is not only bring the thigh towards the body, but they bring the body towards the thigh. So in a position like this, it's going to take you deeper into the pose and start to work the lower back closer to the thigh. So ideally, in this version of pyramid pose, the back should feel a lot less hunched. So much more of the movement will come from the lower back when we can get the hips to engage. Take another breath. Okay, bend your right knee. Blocks off to the side to warrior one, arms up overhead. And then downward facing dog. Step back. All right, left leg up. Step through. Pull the blocks into either side of your front foot. Hands onto your hips. Straighten and bend your left knee a couple times. Moving in and out of the hips. And the next time your left knee's bent, take the arms up overhead. Square the shoulders. Take a full breath in. And then from there, come into pyramid pose. So fold to your left thigh. Reposition the blocks the same way we did on the first side. Push into the blocks a bit, the chest a little, and then attempt to, or feel as if you're trying to pull the left foot away from the floor. And like I said, this might be a hard action to feel. I know for me, for example, on the left side, it's much harder to get an engagement of the left hip flexor. So try your best, like you're lightening the weight in the foot or trying to pull the foot away from the floor. And then if you can start to feel that hip flexor contract, maintain it, lower your fingertips down. And try to stay with the feeling of your left hip in this contracted position, drawing the lower back, especially on the left side, a bit closer towards the left thigh. Try to breathe. Definitely make sure you're breathing. Go ahead and then bend your left knee, blocks off to the side. Inhale your arms up to warrior one again. And then downward facing dog. All right, now let's try and do the same thing in a couple other postures. We'll try it in triangle pose and side angle pose. We'll try it in half moon pose as well. Lift your right leg up and step through to a lunge. And then this time just bring one block outside of your right foot on the highest height. You can place the other block off to the side. Come up into warrior two with your hands on your hips. And in the same way, just straighten and bend your right knee a couple times, making sure you have a nice length to the stance. Okay, then from there, straighten your right leg, slide your right hand onto the block, tipping your upper body forward. And just like in pyramid pose, push into the block and feel like you're trying to pull the right foot away from the floor. Get deep into the right hip joint. Some amount, even if just a subtle amount of contraction. And then if you feel that, now start to bend your right knee, lower the block a little bit for side angle pose. And if you want, you can take the left arm overhead. Continue to feel like you're pulling the right thigh towards the chest, or like you're trying to pull the right foot away from the floor. Putting a little bit of pressure on your right palm will definitely help with that action. All right, then staying in the right hip joint, slide your left hand to your hip. And see if you can use the right hip flexors, stay in the right hip flexors to shift forward and come up into half moon pose. So try to maintain the control of the right hip flexors, and it's going to help your right knee align straight forward. Engaging the right hip flexors doesn't mean that the upper body is going to be pulled down. It's really just isolating the movement in the hip joint. Take one more breath. Slide the block back, bend your right knee, getting deeper into the flex of the hip. Step back, land light, up to warrior two, arms out. Reverse warrior, right arm up. Breathe in. Okay, and then downward facing dog, however you'd like to get there. Let's try the left side. Lift your left leg up. Step through. Place the block outside of your left foot, the highest height. Come up into warrior two with your hands on your hips. And straighten and bend your left knee a few times. The hips tend to really like these dynamic kind of movements, pulses in and out. Okay, there. All right, now straighten your left leg. Take your left hand onto the block. Now feel like you're trying to pull the left foot away from the floor. Pushing down into the block to get the left hip flexors to engage as best you can. All we can do is the best we can do. And then if you can feel them contract, like I really just felt it there, then bend the left knee, lower the block. Continue to feel like your thighs pulling to the ribs or your foot's pulling away from the floor. And right arm overhead. Postural Konasana. Right, and keep working the right hip joint. The left hip joint, right hand to your hip. Slide the block forward, stay in the left hip flexors, and try to use those muscles. Utilize those muscles to lift the right leg up. Stay focused on the left hip. Stay focused on the left hip as opposed to what's happening in the right leg. So trying to maintain that contraction of the left hip flexors and the left hip joint. Take one more breath. Block slides back, bend your left knee, step back and land light, up into warrior two. Reverse warrior, left arm up. Take a full breath in. And then downward facing dog. So place the blocks off to the side, however you'd like to get there. And deep breath in. And full breath out. Okay, so almost there. Go ahead and step to the front of your mat and bring your feet together. Lift halfway up. Fold forward as you exhale. Inhale, mountain pose, arms up. And then exhale your arms by your side. So we're going to start by standing on the left foot. Take your right knee up as high as you can get it. So your right hip is fully flexed. And this is a bit tricky, but without letting your right thigh drop, and as best as you can, attempt to straighten your right leg. Reach the arms up. Feel like your right big toe is pushing up and breathe in. Then to warrior three. Extend your right leg back, arms forward. So the hip that was just in flexion is now moving into extension. The hip that was in extension moved into flexion. Take one more breath. Keep reaching. And then slide your hands to your hips. Right knee comes back up. And lower your foot down. And then left knee up. So thigh up as high as you can get it. Right leg is straight. Then attempt to straighten your left leg. Arms up overhead. The left toe is pushing upward. And from there to warrior three. So again, the flexed hip into extension, the extended hip into flexion. Keep reaching out through the arms. Another breath. And then take your hands to your hips. Left knee back up. And lower your left foot down. Bend both knees. Inhale to chair pose, Utkatasana. Fold forward on the breath out. Inhale, halfway lift. And then plant your palms, step back and lower down. Upward dog. And downward dog. Now we're going to end with one of my favorite versions of runner's lunge. Requires 2 blocks. Lift your right leg up. Step your right foot wide. And then take one of the blocks and place it just inside of your right foot on the medium height. Lower your left knee down. Then the other block, what you're going to do is take the block on the highest height. And you're going to place it just underneath your left shin, close to the knee. If you're taller, you'll probably want to position the block a little bit closer to the ankle. If you're very tight in the front of the hips, the lowest height might be the best. So what this version of runner's lunge does is it props up the back leg. Again, it's on the shin, not on the knee. Props up the back leg so you can get full extension of the hip without having to work the muscles to do it as much. And the forearms down to the block. That's on the inside of the foot. And we'll be here for about 4 breaths. So take your time to set it up. If there's another version of runner's lunge you'd prefer, you're more than welcome to take it. Slow, soft breaths in and out. It's going to take us towards the close of the sequence, this move here. And then go ahead and press up onto your palms into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up and then step your left foot wide. One block inside of the foot. The other block you're going to place just again on the shin, lower than the knee. If you're taller, closer to the ankle. If you're shorter, you could even put the block under the thigh, or you could always adjust the height of the block, and then we'll come onto the forearms on this side. Oftentimes, the two sides feel quite different. You definitely want to get the position of the block right. Your right toes as well, they should be on the floor. You don't want the foot floating. If you do, you have to go lower with the block. Take one more breath. Then come up onto your palms. Downward facing dog. Place the blocks to the side. And then lower your knees down and go ahead and swing your legs around out in front of you. Lie down onto your back. Let's do bridge pose. Open up the front of the hips a little bit. So once you're lying down, reposition the shoulders underneath you. Feet are flat, parallel to each other, about hips width distance apart. Push down into your heels and lift your hips up. Try to keep the knees from splaying out. Using this to open up the front of the thighs a bit. Take a few breaths. Okay, and then lower down. Now take your right knee into your chest. Place your hands on your shin. Extend your left leg long. And from there, twist to your left. So take your right knee left, your right arm right. Softness somewhere. And back to center. And then left knee in, right leg out. And twist the other way. And then back to center. Bring both knees into your chest. Take a deep breath in. And release into Shavasana and extend your legs out. Position yourself comfortably, feet nice and wide. Find a shape in which the front of the hips can feel as if they were able to breathe a little bit better. And soften into this final pose, this final Shavasana. To rest for as long as you need. As always, I want to leave you here so you can take as much time as you'd like, but when you do finish up, move slowly and mindfully as if being guided out. And I hope that practice helps in some way to ourselves and each other, the practice, and the teachings, and to the yoga tradition. Thank you.